You're listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, a business and mindset coach who specializes in imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not as smart, capable, or worthy as you actually are, and that someone is going to find you out, then you've come to the right place. I went from being a struggling government worker, working my coaching business on the side, but feeling unworthy and burnt out, to making multiple six figures helping women overcome imposter syndrome so they too can sign clients, make bank, and have the business or career of their dreams. I am nothing special. I have a stuttering disability, ADHD, and I struggle with anxiety and depression. So if I can learn how to feel good enough and overcome my inner imposter, then so can you. Let's dig in. Hello, my lovely listeners. I am currently drinking a White Claw, and I don't know if you saw my stories, if you remember, since I'm recording this way before you're actually hearing it, but I actually am drinking like a lime White Claw, and Dustin, my fiance, he actually made these like fruit punch ice cubes, and I was like, oh, we should do this. And it is delicious, if you're wondering, and I'm just so excited because we're stripping our deck and repainting it. We are currently renters, but I still think that you should aim to make any space that you're in beautiful and something that you enjoy being in. So I was like, I'm gonna redo the deck because all the old paint was coming off and chipping off. So I spend the majority of my time on our deck in the summer. I read out there. I do my morning routine out there. I just am a sucker for the sun. I love being in the sun. I am an infinitely happier person in the summer than I am in the winter time. And of course, there's a lot of scientific reasons for that. Which I know about, but it just makes me happy. It just makes me happy to have a tan and be in the sun, you know? I, of course, always wear my sunscreen, but I'm just so excited that summer is back. And welcome back to the pod. Happy June when you're listening to this. We have some very exciting things coming up in the JP coaching world. So personally, I'm gearing up for a very busy summer of my friends' weddings. I literally have 4 friends this summer getting married. 3 are my best friends. I knew that was going to happen at some point in my life because we're all the same age, essentially. I'm also starting to plan our wedding, 30th birthdays, because this is the year of 30 for me and the majority of my friends, as well as Dustin and my sister-in-law too, all that stuff. So it's going to be crazy. We are also, guys, we're gearing up for the From Imposter to Empowered program. And if you love this podcast, you are going to literally die over this program, okay? So actually, you're not going to die because you're going to want to be very alive for this program, and we're launching it in July and starting it in August. And this is my group program for coaches to overcome imposter syndrome and silence your inner critic so you can confidently show up and sell your services. Okay, it's a 4-month, so a 16-week program that combines all the subconscious mind work and all the somatic body work, a full holistic experience that will transform you as a person and as a business owner. You will literally step right into your highest self, no questions asked, and have the business to show for it. I cannot wait, and you'll get access to the wait list as early as next week. I am also onboarding new one-to-one clients for the remainder of the year because it is a 6-month program. So will you be next? This is an intimate one-to-one experience for 6 months where we have all eyes on your limiting beliefs, your identity, your business. So you can trust yourself more, step into that highest self, show up confidently, feel like and be regarded as the expert in your niche, and of course, sign 4-figure coaching clients. So you can book a sales call at the link in my show notes or send me a DM on Instagram. The investment is $8,000 pay in full, but there are payment plans, just so you know. Okay, so let's get into the episode, all right? So speaking of 4-figure investments, right? Today we're talking all about how you can charge 4 figures for your coaching package and not just decide on a number and then put it out there. How you can really decide and go for it and confidently charge 4 figures for your coaching program. Even if you have charged more than $1,000 before, this will still come up for my clients who have thoughts around what coaching is worth and not believing someone will pay them a certain amount when they increase their prices. So let's get down to business. shall we? So here are the things that I think you need to get your brain around. The value of emotional labor, 1. Getting clear on your impossible result, 2. Having a good process you take your clients through, 3. And 4, being the supporting actor when you actually think that you're the main character. Okay, so first things first, you have to believe in the value of emotional labor. And if you think about it from a societal and patriarchal perspective, emotional labor is just not seen as worthy and as important than other kinds of work, in quotations, work. My fiance's mom is a personal support worker, and she spends all day dressing and bathing and cooking for people, taking care of them, not only physically, but also emotionally and mentally. And she makes very little money for the amount of work she puts in. From a patriarchal perspective, women who stay home or do all of the domestic duties are still seen as less than by society's view because they're not technically bringing in an income, even though the world is starting to change, right? And we can make money from our phones and all that good stuff. But it's still viewed as less than by society, as if the emotionally, physical, and mental well-being of children does not positively impact the future of our society. Who knew? All of us in fucking therapy because our parents didn't listen to us or didn't hold space for our emotions. Who knew that that would impact us growing up? Psychologists knew. Even with therapy and coaching being on the rise to being normalized, there is still a lot of stigma around getting help with things that society tells us we should be able to manage on our own, like emotional and mental wellness, right? Like, have you ever heard somebody say to you, oh, you need to go to therapy for that? Or how come you're in therapy? As if there needs to be a reason, right? I got that so much from my family. They're like, you look like you have your shit together. And I'm like, yeah, it's because I go to therapy and get coaching. But to this I say, what if we don't have to do it on our own anymore? When I get coached, things make so much sense. I feel lighter, supported, and not alone in the thoughts that I'm thinking, right? Therapy started me off great for personal development, but coaching has completely transformed me and my business. I have a family that doesn't really believe in mental health support, so you may also have beliefs and stories from childhood that make you think things like therapy and coaching aren't necessary, and that's where you may be getting tripped up when it comes to charging for your services. Emotional labor is labor, especially if you are neurodivergent, because you guys know I have anxiety and ADHD, and it is emotionally taxing to coach others. But I shouldn't feel bad about it, and neither should you. In 2020, I had like an over full client roster with my full-time job. It was the first time that I ever took on that many one-to-one clients. And I made my discomfort and tired emotions mean that I was doing something wrong. I thought I should have felt energized and excited from coaching all day long after working all day long at my full-time job, but nothing was actually wrong with that. Emotional labor is tiring, and it is only because we tell ourselves it shouldn't be, like how we tell ourselves that we shouldn't need to recharge after being around people, when that is literally necessary for me personally in order to function. I used to be so hard on myself, being like, how come I need to literally lay in bed for an entire day after going to a 3-hour event? And it was because I was learning to process everything from the day before and all the masking I had to do, and I would beat myself up so much for it. But now that I understand myself more, it's a lot easier for me to just give in, recharge, and get back to business, right? So how do you view emotional labor? The reason why me and my clients sign high ticket packages is because we view emotional labor as significant, important, and valuable. So I want you to check in with yourself when you think about things like coaching and therapy. How often are you telling yourself that these things are unnecessary, that you are not adding any value to the world? You are just doing something that's fun or something that's extra, something that's a luxury. But the mental and emotional well-being of ourselves and of society, I think that those are two of the most important things in the entire world, right? But like, it took me a long time too, right? Like, it took me a while to believe that the work I was doing was important and necessary. But I think about when my clients get a breakthrough or when they feel really good about something, that carries into their families and into their children and how they show up for their audience so they can positively impact their clients and their audience, right? Everything we do has a ripple effect. Okay, so moving on. Secondly, to charge 4 figures for coaching means that you are clear on your impossible result. I can't remember if I've talked about your impossible result before on the podcast, but this is a concept that I coined recently that definitely spun my clients out, but it's so good. It is the idea that if you had a perfect soulmate client and you were the highest version of yourself, that empowered version of yourself, what result would you want to help them achieve? If you were making mad money in your business and you had clients flocking in, what would you be saying you can help them achieve while working with you? Most of you don't even let yourself go there because it scares the shit out of you to promise any kind of result to someone. But this is because you're afraid of what you'll make it mean and what you'll do to yourself if someone doesn't get the result you promised. One of my clients was hashing out this fear with me because she and a couple of other business friends were in a group where they didn't get the result that the coach had promised. This manifested by way of judgment for my client, her being judgmental, but what it really was fear of not being able to deliver for her clients. This affected her sales and affected the way that she was showing up, all from fear of some clients not getting the result. It had her stuck in inaction. The impossible result is an opportunity for you to get innovative and creative, for you to see where you can improve and do better. And it is contingent upon the belief that you're good enough and that you're not a fraud. The impossible result is going to be impossible to get clear on when you're secretly afraid that you're just a bad coach and will never amount to anything. And what if you actually are scamming people? This is where the work to overcome that imposter syndrome comes in, to step into that empowered self comes in, so you can get extremely clear on the process and the results you can provide for your clients. Clarity helps you sign clients, people. This leads me to the third way to help you believe that you can sign 4-figure clients, which is devoting time to creating a process that will help lead your clients to the impossible result. Most people do not sit down and do this because they are so afraid of feeling like they can't come up with anything and therefore feeling like a fraud. You will be amazed at the things that you avoid and don't do because you're afraid of having the thought, I'm a fraud, I don't know what I'm talking about. So a little secret for you. Like so much of your procrastination and resistance to doing things comes from imposter syndrome and the fear of how you'll feel if you can't come up with original ideas or content. So of course it's hard for you to believe you can charge 4 figures for your coaching because in your mind your coaching doesn't feel worth 4 figures. Let me say that again. Of course, it's hard for you to believe you can charge 4 figures for your coaching because in your mind, your coaching doesn't feel worth 4 figures. But when you come up with a 3, a 5, a 10-step process, whatever the fuck it is, you lay it all out there, add in your expertise, your knowledge, how you can uniquely help them, your brain can clearly see the time, effort, and work that you're putting into your clients. Especially adding in the fact that you're meeting weekly, you're providing Monday to Friday messaging access, whatever else you're going to do for them. Allow yourself to go all into the places why the support from you is invaluable. Play with it, right? This work that you're doing is so invaluable and it will only help for your brain to look at all the reasons how you can help somebody and what you're going to pour into the container, and that will help you show up even more confidently. Okay? And lastly, we think we're the main characters, right? And we are on our own journeys. But to your clients, you are a supporting actor. You don't need to put yourself on this pedestal of, I need to help my clients achieve all the results in the world to be worthy. You are there to solve a specific problem for your client, and that's what they're paying you for. So again, we take it back to the impossible result. Impossible result does not mean all the results. It means one impossible result. Being too vague on how you help them will hurt your marketing and your sales because you'll think, I need to cover everything and be everything to my client. But they just want you to solve the problem that they can't solve on their own. The efficiency, speed, and devoted time spending on solving their one problem is worthy of being compensated for. But they are the main character of their lives. They are not looking to you to solve all of their problems and to shoulder all of the responsibility of making things happen for them. And if you're like, but it's boring talking about the same thing all the time, Jill, and I feel like I need to add all these things, that is just your brain being bored, especially if you're neurodivergent. Boredom is usually like, oh no, we need to do something different. We need to be interested, all these things. Go satisfy yourself elsewhere. That sounded really sexual, which you totally can. Go do that. But what I mean is don't seek out excitement always from your business when it's actually going to derail your purpose and affect you signing clients, right? And actually, one more thing. The value of your service does not change based on who's looking at it. Meaning, if your family or your friends or your work colleagues at your full-time job are raising their eyebrows at your pricing, or even when you invest into coaching yourself, remember that everyone is always looking through their own lens of experience. I actually was telling one of my best friends, I was like, oh my God, I'm in this group program, Feminine Embodiment with Stevie Wright. She's amazing. And it's so good. And you should totally do it because we were doing our 2022 vision boards over Christmas. We smoked a lot of weed and we ate a lot of cheese and meat and all those good things, a charcuterie board, if you will. And we did our friggin' vision boards and they were amazing. They were so good. And I was like, I want to embody more of my feminine side of myself. And she was like, ooh, me too. So I told her about this group program and I said, yeah, it was like $2,500. Okay, $2,500 to me for a group program is literally like pennies to me now. At the time when I was first investing, it was a lot of fucking money, and I was like, oh my God, I need like a 10-month payment plan and blah blah blah. But now it's like, I will drop that like it's hot. Like it's so easy for me to spend that because I know how valuable coaching has been for my life, right? But to her, she was like, like her eyes just like bugged out of her head. She was, and on top of that, it was USD, right? So she was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh yeah, I forget that people think that a couple $1,000s for a coaching program is weird. You know what I mean? But everyone is, and by the way, if you guys are using that against yourself, remember that you are always showing the value, right? Like, just because somebody has an immediate response to a price, like remember we have that conscious critical faculty, which is that filter in your brain that immediately discards or disregards information that it's not used to. But the more you introduce things like showing up on social media and talking about your offer over and over and over again, the more you get into people's awareness and showing them, look how amazing this thing is. That's how they start to convince themselves and compel themselves like, oh, this is something I can see myself in. And that's how we get introduced to anything, right? Like when I think about for me in the beginning, yeah, $2,500 was a lot of fucking money to me in the beginning, right? But as I got more into this world and after I coached more and did more and saw it more, I was like, oh, this is normal to my brain. And it is the process for everybody. You still have a human brain. And I just didn't want you guys to use that against yourself. Like, oh, your normal friend that isn't in the coaching industry thought that that was a lot. But if she was seeking out services for herself, if she was looking for it herself, she could start to follow Stevie and start to be like aware of all the things that Stevie is doing. You know what I mean? And then slowly, on her own terms, she would come to terms with the fact that, yes, I would like to invest this. Anyways, that was a side note. But again, everyone is always looking through their own unique lens. They are always seeing things from their perspective. And there are a lot of spectators to your business. Spectators, not contributors. But if it's not helping you, if it's keeping you small, if it's causing you to question yourself and overthink your prices, do not solicit advice from people who don't understand. I remember in 2020, my dad, who's an entrepreneur as well, a very different entrepreneur than me, but he is an entrepreneur, he tried to tell me to give these massive discounts to clients and also said that a 100K goal for a launch was lofty, even though we like nearly hit it. It was very close. And that's when I stopped telling him so many details about my coaching packages. Like, it didn't help me to go into Value Village and try to convince the customers in there to shop at Gucci, right? Be mindful of what you consume and if it's helping or hurting your thoughts about the price of your services. Bottom line, you need to redefine how to value your services. And of course, that starts with how you value yourself. Believing in charging 4 figures is a decision, just like it's a decision to buy a couch or an ice cream cone. You decide, and then you figure out how to continue choosing that decision over and over again every day from the belief that your services are worthy of the amount that you charge. So you can work with me in one-to-one coaching if you're craving support to overcome imposter syndrome, believe in the value of your work and how it can change someone's life, and sign 4-figure coaching clients. Book a sales call at the link in my show notes. I love you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Head to the show notes to find out how you can take this work deeper with me in one-to-one coaching or in the From Imposter to Empowered group program. In the show notes, you'll also find a free 3-day challenge to start the process of overcoming your inner imposter. And once you're done with all of that, screenshot this episode and share it on Instagram, tagging me at your coach Jill so we can connect. See you next time.